The story of Lance Armstrong's relationship with the Tour de France is one of the most famous in all sport. He's the cancer survivor who, when condemned to death, then rose from his bed to win the world's toughest sporting event, not once, which would have been miracle enough, not twice like the great Fausto Coppi, not even 5 times, which would have placed him in the pantheon of legends alongside riders such as Merckx and Anquetil, but 7 times, which has given him a unique place in cycling history. Armstrong's history with the Tour predates his illness, but as with so much in this man's life, even those early days were filled with drama and tragedy. Perhaps the darkest day of Lance Armstrong's life prior to his diagnosis with cancer came on July the 18th, 1995, on the Col de Porte d'Aspet. At 11:31, Radio Tour reported a crash on the descent of the Pyrenean mountain, the Col de Porte d'Aspet. It involved 6 riders. One of those riders, Dante Rezze, plunged 30 feet into a ravine, yet he escaped with relative minor injuries. Fabio Casatelli was not so lucky. Severe facial injuries left him unconscious on the road. He was attended by the race doctors immediately, and then he was airlifted by helicopter to hospital. It was in the helicopter where he suffered a series of cardiac arrests, but on each occasion the doctors saved him. On arrival at Tarbes Hospital, doctors fought to save his life. At 3 o'clock, the race organisation announced the passing of the Olympic champion, who leaves a wife and a young baby. 2 days later, Armstrong made a personal statement and dedication to the memory of Fabio Casatelli. We're on the climb here of the Côte de Villeneuve, and Armstrong is going clear. Now, we've just received a time check that the bunch is 5 minutes behind containing Indurain. So Armstrong knows now that the race will be decided from this front group, and he's trying to force that decision even to a finer result. And Lance Armstrong now is not just winning for himself or the team, he's also winning for Fabio Casatelli. However, there weren't as many stage victories in the Tour as his talent had promised there would be. Now, can Lance Armstrong win for him his second ever stage of a Tour de France? He came in such a big way in his first full season as a pro. Now he's going, Armstrong is now coming, but Uchikov has a kick. And look at this, Sergei Uchikov has got, and I don't think Armstrong can get round him. He's making absolutely no impression. Lance Armstrong is going to be beaten, and Uchikov for the Ukraine gets the victory on this stage of the Tour de France, and that is absolutely amazing.
I was out there 200 Ks, and every 200 of them, every one of them, I thought for sure I was going to win. And to get second that's devastating.
But you're going to carry this tour right through until the end, and there's still a couple more chances.
There is, yeah. I mean, it's a day like today you don't come across very often, to go into a break and get 15 or 17 minutes, and I mean those days just don't happen. And I mean, I'm always looking, but it's going to be difficult.
Little did this defeated man know that the most extraordinary chapters in his life story were still to be written. In 1993, he was the world champion at the age of 21. Then, in 1996, his world collapsed as he was diagnosed with testicular cancer. The cancer was at a very advanced stage, with tumours the size of golf balls in his lungs. Doctors told him he had a 20 to 50% chance of living. In reality, they believed he had none. From one of the world's leading riders to a dying man, Armstrong's future was bleak.
Well, at first I was so surprised that I didn't believe it. I thought I was going to die. To live the nightmare that I lived, It doesn't. I've been to hell and back. I realize the importance of me winning the Tour, or me trying to win the Tour, what it does for everybody involved, for the cancer community, for the team, for my family, for my friends. It's fantastic. Hey, you got to be brave and you got to be strong, and anything is possible.
Just what was possible for this man we discovered during the prologue time trial in the 1999 Tour.
Time checks, what a comeback this could be. There's only 2 men behind him now. Armstrong is the leader and will have to wait. 8:2.5, that is astonishing.
Well, that's an incredible start to the Tour de France, Phil. He's back at the camping car. Everybody's there to congratulate him. Frankie Andreu, his 8th Tour de France, the captain of the team, and Johan Brunel, the team manager. I don't think he could have believed that before the start of this tour.
I mean, right now I'm so surprised, but yet I'm so pleased and so happy for the team and for the staff and the other riders. It's of course it's a big story, but I gave everything, and I feel good.
He would relinquish the yellow jersey almost immediately, but this newfound time trial specialist would win it back a week later.
Is there no end to this rider this year, because Armstrong just can do absolutely nothing wrong?
Well, the last time I saw him ride a time trial like this, Phil, was 1996, the Tour du Pont, which he absolutely dominated. He won that time trial stage there at over 32 miles an hour. But it has changed. His position on the machine has changed. He's got a very aerodynamic helmet. But the important thing is that the speed at which he's pedaling, look at that cadence, it's up around 100 RPM.
Well, since his cancer therapy and his chemotherapy, he has lost an awful lot of weight in his training, in his comeback. Those that thought after his Paris-Nice race last year that he was going home for good were proved absolutely wrong.
And now he's coming up to the line, and look at that, he's almost a minute faster on the finish line as well.
Well, we are going to see a second stage win here, and the second time trial win for Lance Armstrong, and it could well be a yellow jersey as well. Armstrong won 8:36, an incredible time, with the acceleration of Armstrong is absolutely frightening here. This is the sort of move that you would have seen Eddie Merckx do in his day, and not the sort of move we ever saw Miguel Indurain do.
Look at that.
Armstrong had quickly established himself as not only a devastating time trialist, but as an ace climber too.
1 kilometre. He's ripped across that gap, and he's riding a superb race now.
This charge across the peaks towards Sestriere would enter Tour legend. It was a powerful display and a dagger into the heart of his challengers. It was indeed reminiscent of the great feats of the cannibal, Eddie Merckx, 30 years before.
He's just ridden across like they were standing still.
He's won both time trials. He's now heading up to a likely victory here at Sestriere. If you can win the time trials and you win the mountains, well, there's not much left but to win the Tour de France.
Much of the time, anger drove him on. When he needed to, he reminded himself of how his contract with Cofidis had been renegotiated as he lay recuperating from his chemotherapy.
Lance Armstrong looks to the sky, no doubt in memory of his friend Casatelli.
A lot of people expected the climbs to go out for you today. You actually turned the tables around and gave them a big slap in the face.
Well, I wanted to answer some questions about that, because there was a lot of people that figured my climbing was suspect.
Some old controversies soon raised their ugly heads, though. In 1998, Festina's team doctor Willy Voigt was arrested at the French-Belgian border, his car full of the performance-enhancing drug EPO. A few days later, France's favourite rider, Richard Virenque, was kicked out of the race with the rest of the Festina team. Another 6 teams left in protest at their treatment, including the Dutch TVM squad. The peloton even brought the whole race to a standstill for a few hours. By the time Marco Pantani was crowned in Paris with fewer than half the riders who started it, it was clear that the issue of drugs and the Tour de France was not going to go away. Armstrong's miraculous performances meant that he too was now under suspicion.
I thought a rider with my history and my health situation, and also with the results of my career, I would have thought that it shouldn't be such a surprise. It's been a week and nothing's been found. You're not going to find anything. If it's L'Equipe, if it's Channel 4, if it's a Spanish paper, Dutch paper, Belgian paper, there's nothing to find.
I've never tested positive.
I've never been caught with anything.
A lot of people who watch our programmes have heard of your illness and see you winning now and think it's nothing short of a miracle. Do you see it that way?
It is a miracle, because 15 or 20 years ago I wouldn't be alive, much less be riding a bike or starting the Tour de France or leading the Tour de France. So, yes, I think it's a miracle.
This man has no limit to his strength here.
Armstrong rode best when driven by anger, and those accusations just kept on coming. This time it was about steroids in a skin cream.
We're not talking about doping. We're talking about a simple skin cream. And I wanted to talk to the press. I always want to talk to... When there's a problem, I want to speak with the press. Today, there was clearly a problem. I wanted to speak to the press. Press conference, come here on Velo Club, explain the situation. Le Monde is looking for a doping story, but there's not one. There's a story of skin cream.
But outside the media, more people were wanting to believe in the miracle than to question it.
Armstrong, last man to start.
Last man to start. He won the prologue at Le Puy de Fou. Then he regained the yellow jersey at the time trial at Metz. For nearly 2 weeks he has successfully defended that with a great team around him.
But the best times so far are being set by Rick Verbrugge. But this, Phil, I have to say, is unbelievable. Armstrong has caught his 3-minute man and gone straight by.
If Armstrong wants to join names like Eno, Merckx and Indurain as having won all of the time trials of a Tour de France, look at the clock. Zuller is 1:8:26. There's still a ways to go here. This is going to be very close. Armstrong was clearly ahead earlier. Now he's not. Armstrong doesn't know it, but he needs to sprint to get the victory. As the clock counts on, he makes it ever so close, but he makes it, and 1:8:17 is good enough. And there he is on the podium. So Lance Armstrong has won all of the time trials, and he's now set to win the Tour de France. One of the finest sporting achievements in the history of not just cycling, but of any sport. And there he is now as he rolls to a halt for the last time. He receives the congratulations from his teammates and from other riders as he turns in now to...
Lance Armstrong was, as the millennium drew to a close, the author of the greatest story in sport. Surely, though, it was just an incredible one-off. Lance Armstrong's post-cancer body weight meant that he was a match in the mountains for even the finest climbers, among them Marco Pantani.
Lance Armstrong on the climb here. Armstrong didn't start it, but he looks like he's got every idea he might like to finish it, because Armstrong now clear of some real favourites to the Tour de France and heading up towards the group, which, don't forget, when they started this attack was only 2 minutes and 20 seconds up the road.
Well, they're really flying up this climb. He looks over his shoulder occasionally just to see what the face of Marco Pantani is telling him, and it doesn't seem to be showing very much emotion at all at the moment. It's amazing to see that Armstrong is actually putting the man regarded at one time as the best climber in the world into difficulty.
On the Hautacam, the gauntlet was well and truly thrown down by the American for the Italian to try and pick up.
Pantani getting out of the saddle, going back into the saddle, trying to find a little bit more strength, and he's popped.
Well, I never thought I'd see the day when Lance Armstrong would blow away the man we've always referred to as the finest climber we've ever seen in the current peloton of cycling, but he started it and Armstrong has finished it. And now Lance Armstrong has written off the riders on the climb of Hautacam and shaken the head there by little Marco Pantani. But Armstrong today has destroyed the field in the Tour de France. The minutes are ticking off once he hits the line. A determined and ultimate impression of Lance Armstrong today as he comes up to the line, and look at that time gap, 10 minutes 35 at the bottom, 41 seconds at the top.
Pantani, also known as the Pirate for his headgear and behind his back as El Fantino on account of his ears, felt he'd been humiliated on the Hautacam. So when the Tour reached Provence, and in particular the Mont Ventoux, he felt that he had a point to prove.
Expected that. Ulrich has done nothing about it at all. He saw the speed and the acceleration of Lance Armstrong, and he's gone off after Pantani and Botero, and they've got nothing left.
Well, look at that. Ulrich could not respond. He must have heard that attack coming. He must have felt it go by. He looks at the Colombian rider. How are you doing? Thank you very much. Goodbye. I'm now going to chase after the Pirate. He's chasing just one man on the road, the man who's in the pink jersey of Mercatoni Uno, and there he is, just there.
Well, this is an incredible demonstration of the sort I don't think I've ever seen in the Tour de France, because Armstrong is toying with the top names of the cycling world. He left them and they knew he was going because they couldn't even raise the pedal length. Now he's sprinted straight past Santiago Botero and he's coming up to Pantani. And what will the Pirate do when this man gets on board?
Well, he'll try and kick again. He's trying to accelerate, but you're not going to stop the onslaught of Lance Armstrong. The man from Austin, Texas, is controlling this bike race the only way he knows how, and that's attacking on all of the difficult stages.
And there is now just 100 metres to go. I don't know if the riders know that because there's no signage at all today because of the wind. But in fact, Lance Armstrong is about to make the final turn for the finish. What an ascent of Mont Ventoux for both of these riders. And except Pantani, Armstrong is gaining time over everyone. Now, is he going to take out his first stage win in this year's Tour de France? We can see the line now. I don't know whether they can because there's only a line on the road. Pantani is on the right and Armstrong keeping on the pressure here as we start to approach the line now. Pantani grits his teeth and accelerates and over the line. Pantani wins.
Afterwards, Armstrong claimed he gave the stage to Pantani, later calling him by his less complimentary nickname. Understandably, Pantani was furious and their battle continued into the Alps.
He likes to be put under pressure like this. He likes to climb at his own speed. Remember how he rode at Mont Ventoux? He was dropped by the Armstrong group, he rode back and then was able to attack. But I think we are seeing here Lance Armstrong ripping the field apart, and he's going to head up the mountain here in search of Botero.
And where is Pascal Hervé? That wasn't an attack by Armstrong, that was just a mere acceleration. He's proving that he is the strongest bike rider on all terrains, and at the moment he's proving that he is one of the greatest climbers in the world of cycling.
Pantani had at last been beaten finally and decisively on his home ground of the mountains. He would never be the same rider again until his tragic death in 2004.
We know that he wants to win this time trial despite what he says. He's talked often enough of this is about winning the Tour de France, not winning stages, but believe me, he wants to win today.
The battles against Pantani had taken a lot out of Armstrong. More perhaps than he was going to admit to the peloton, and not for the last time he would need all of his time-trialling skills to keep contenders like Ulrich at bay.
And look at this, he's gone through 5 seconds ahead of Ulrich and 47 ahead of Moreau. This is a head-to-head battle now, Paul. Well, what a performance by Lance Armstrong this has been now as he drives up to the line. I think he'll just about get in, but he's aiming at the time of 1:5:27 of Jan Ulrich, who's home. We are watching probably the second fastest time trial in the history of the Tour de France. Armstrong sprinting the long straight here in Mulhouse. This will confirm him as winner of the Tour de France as well, and as winner of a stage of the time trial this year. Armstrong rocks and rolls his way home here now as he comes up to the line. His time is 1:5:01. He wins the time trial. The big difference this year, it's a family affair for the Armstrongs now. Christine there, his wife, and new baby Luke, already a winner on the podium in the Tour de France.
Lance Armstrong's relationship with this race was beginning to feel less like a one-off miracle and more like the early years of the reign of a king. But greater challenges were to come.
In the post platoon, there's a touch of wheels. 2 riders are down here on the floor. One of them is Van der Velde, I think. The right-hand side of the picture, I'm not sure the other one is Tyler Hamilton, but 2 riders are down.
Looked like Roberto Heras who went down now. Somebody's switched across there. Number 9 going down there is Van der Velde, the first man to go down. Right over the top of him there is Roberto Heras. That was a very hard crash for them.
Lance Armstrong here, what's he doing?
They're waiting. They've decided to wait for Van der Velde and Roberto Heras. They realise that Van der Velde is a big, strong man. They're going to wait for a few seconds. They'll lose 25 or 30 seconds with this manoeuvre, but they feel that it may well be important over the last 15 kilometres. Armstrong giving instructions, slow down, let's get back together. Let's get 9 men into this event. He's now proving not only is the leader of the team, he's the captain on the road. He's waiting for Van der Velde and Heras to come back into the group.
Look at the face of Armstrong there now as he drives this group to the line. The champion of the Tour de France these past 2 years. Grimaces, 1:23:10. I think he's going to be desperately close. We may have a new best time despite all of the problems of the postal boys. Armstrong bringing his team home to the line as he comes up to the line. New best time, 1:22:58.
Not only was Armstrong proving himself as a team leader and tactician, but he also demonstrated in the mountains clever use of kidology, what Muhammad Ali used to call rope-a-dope. fooling your opponents that you're hurt, then performing the coup de grace.
I don't believe I'm seeing this. Armstrong has been at the back for the whole day, and Ulrich is in difficulty now.
Well, I don't think Ulrich believes it either. Armstrong has given everybody, and maybe that was the plan, to give everybody the impression he was in trouble. And now Rubiera, who's looked after him all day, has put him at the front of Algumas. A good reply there by Ulrich, and this is going to be a mano a mano now, and it's all happening before the climb has really started.
Armstrong now, for the first time today, is looking comfortable. He's come into his terrain. Vinokourov, boom, he's out of the group right now. Telecom are losing their men one after the other. They are dropping like flies. This is where you have to race alone, and Armstrong's gone.
A big move by Lance this, and no reply coming at all from Jan Ulrich. Ulrich has got no answer to this acceleration by Lance Armstrong. So Armstrong has been holding everything under those legs till the last climb, and now he has launched the attack. He wants to win it out Duez. We knew that. We were just not too sure he had it in him. He will thank Rubiera, who has completely sacrificed himself. He took a look straight into the eyes there of Jan Ulrich and said, well, here I go, are you coming or not? And the answer is not. Well, Armstrong has really showed everybody now he is once again, for the third year in succession, the man to beat in the Tour de France. And again, so early in the event, he has used his enormous strength to destroy the morale of those who are close to him.
I decided to give a look, see how he was, and give a little surge and see what happened. It was, in hindsight, it's I attacked too early, but I do that every year. I mean, I make little mistakes like that that I could pay for in the end. I mean, it's 13 kilometers alone, all out like that is an effort you don't want to do very often.
The psychological dominance that had destroyed the challenge of Pantone a year before was now being brought to bear on Jan Ulrich.
And it looks as though Lance Armstrong is about to give us a demonstration of power here. He's moved over Ulrich. He sensed that Ulrich perhaps was cracking. He's gone to the front, and he's doing some of the pacemaking now. There's the face of Ulrich, not looking as good as he was at the start of the climb. But I think Jan is now going to have to hang on to Lance Armstrong or lose more time.
Great day for Jaja. He will be picking up maximum points all out on the course. On the descent, there's a risk there. Somebody's gone off. That was amazing. Ulrich's gone down. Ulrich has gone over the edge. Unbelievable. He was taking risks, trying to damage Armstrong, but he's okay. He's up. He's climbing up there. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. He took huge risks around there. Unfortunately, Livingston has stopped and waited for him. This is remarkable. He wanted to blow Armstrong away on the descent. We'll have a look at that one more time. He was going straight into that corner, going much too fast. Armstrong was following him, saw that the German had gone the wrong way into the corner. He's fine. You can see he controlled it. He just went over the top of the bars. That was an excellent roll. I tell you one thing, the man is an absolute acrobat. Now he will find that Armstrong is on his own. I would expect Armstrong to wait because there's still an awful long way to go to the finishing line, and he needs to do that right now because he doesn't want to try and take advantage of that accident by Ulrich.
Armstrong did wait for Ulrich, obeying an unwritten rule of the peloton, but once parity had been restored, Lance raised himself out of the saddle and danced on the pedals once more.
And when he goes, Paul, we wonder, because this man just opens a gap and makes Ulrich look like a club cyclist.
In a final gesture of sportsmanship, Armstrong let Ulrich take a time bonus on one of the final mountain stages, which meant that by the time Paris came around, Ulrich maintained his record of never finishing lower than second in the Tour. The gesture was acknowledged. "2002 hadn't started well for Ulrich when he tested positive for drugs, albeit recreational rather than performance-enhancing. But maybe it was an indication that the German rider wasn't really up for suffering this year. Maybe this explains why 2002 would be Armstrong's smoothest win. It was in La Mongie in the Pyrenees where Armstrong first got his hands on the maillot jaune.
Would have given this stage to Heras if only the other man wasn't there.
He would love to give this victory to Roberto Heras, but that's not the scenario. Obviously, Yoshiba Belocchi didn't read the script at the start of the day, and this is the move by Armstrong. He's going for the win.
Well, he's dug deep. He looks over his shoulder. There's really not a strong enough reaction from Belocchi. Belocchi is desperate here, but what a good fight he has put up. But now it's everything he's got unleashed in those legs, and this is now his 13th stage win in a Tour de France, more than any other current cyclist on the circuit. Armstrong wins the day, claims again another first on the first day in the mountains, and waiting for him the Golden Fleece. He's the new leader of the Tour.
The next day on the Plateau de Baille, he completed the 1-2 punch by doubling his lead. Armstrong's final winning margin was more than 7 minutes.
They all have their little characteristics and emotions and memories, and look, they're all special. You wouldn't pick one over the other, but you know, the newest one and the latest one is always the most special at that time, and right now we're just all so happy, and it's a great team.
2003 marked the 90th edition of the race, but more importantly, it marked the race's centenary year. The aim was to retrace as much of the original route as possible, but it began with a prologue around the streets of Paris. This year, Ulrich looks serious.
You could see the fastest time now go to Jan Ullrich.
Well, the one man in the world, Lance Armstrong has always said he respects and fears, is this man. He is the classiest bike rider in the world, but there are times when he lets himself down. If he's come back, then hats off to him. Jan Ullrich is receiving the applause of the crowd now. I think he's got the best time. It is not far to the line. The big man is back. Ullrich has had 4th place finishes in the prologue. He's going to slot in number 1 at the moment. Listen to the crowd. 7:28.6. There's 6 seconds. 5, 4 as Armstrong races to the line. Is this going to be a perfect opening? No, it is not. Bradley McGee has won for Australia, but Armstrong has made it perfectly clear he is very much in for a 5th win in this year's Tour de France. He crosses the line in, well, the clock continues to count, so I can't tell you, but about 6 or 7.
The team were riding well together, but what about Armstrong himself? There were doubts in the peloton about his form. He was about to be tested to his very limits.
Hamilton hanging on to the coattail of Armstrong as he continues with his broken collarbone. If he jumps out of the saddle, you'll see his face wince with pain. The doctors take him away at night, they examine him and tell him if he is doing any long-term damage. And he comes out of those examinations smiling.
Comes out of his examination smiling. He's got a joke for everybody. He's raised the morale of the team. I cannot believe the way he's sitting here on the shoulder of Lance Armstrong. And if you get a glimpse of his jersey there, which is open to try and keep him cool, he's got a bandage right across his broken clavicle, which is quite remarkable. The race now is made up of 4 riders. It's all together. Oh, Hamilton's gone.
Hamilton has gone this time. He's attacking Lance Armstrong. It hasn't worked. Armstrong's reacted. But Belocchi also going. Once you have one attack, you have another. We've never seen a climb like this before.
We've never seen anybody attacking the leader quite as repetitive as this.
They believe he's vulnerable. They actually believe Armstrong can be beaten.
The only way he can be beaten is if several riders attack him consistently over and over again. And that's what they've decided to do. That's what the big leaders of the Tour de France say that they will do to try and dislodge Armstrong from the top. You don't catch him out like that, though.
The riders around him as somebody is going to... That's Vinokurov, I think. Alexander Vinokurov has had a move from the front. You see, they're sensing there is a chance to beat Armstrong.
They are going at him like an automatic rifle. It's bang, bang, bang. As soon as they feel they're slowing down, somebody else goes off the front end of the main group here. Jan Ullrich has ridden an unbelievable race here, Phil. He's trying to ride himself back up to the wheel of Lance Armstrong. Well, this is remarkable. The man at the front of the race, Iban Mayo, now has a 1-minute 45-second advantage over Alexander Vinokurov, who's almost a minute in front of Lance Armstrong. He started the day a minute 58 behind Armstrong. Armstrong's going to have to turn the gas up over the last 2 Ks.
Hamilton tried, just nudged a little, then Armstrong was on him straight away. Look at the face here. Jan Ullrich has never finished worse than second. Here goes Belocchi. Another desperate move. Armstrong not a sign on his face of any effort. He's out of the saddle and he's straight onto the slipstream of Belocchi.
Hamilton's gone. Hamilton's been put in difficulty this time by that acceleration, but he's been brave. He's attacked.
but the Spanish will enjoy this moment, and in particularly those who come from the Basque Country. They love their sport of cycling. This man now is an absolute hero back home. And Armstrong is determined now to take the third place, and this is for the yellow jersey as well. He may have been beaten on the climb, but he will be the leader of the Tour de France. The American, and that's a matter of honour, I think, has taken third place at about 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
The duel in the mountains between Lance Armstrong and last year's second-place rider Joshiba Bolocki was looking like it was going to be the story of the second week. But matters would take an unexpected turn for the worse for one of those riders on a final descent into gap.
He's only leading by 10 seconds. The difficult thing on a day like this is, in fact, and Bolocki's near. Bolocki's gone down. Armstrong's off the road as well. Armstrong complete control there. He's into the field, but what a great bike rider. He's gone across. This is unbelievable. I've never seen this before. Armstrong went across the field there. He's back on the road at 4 kilometres to go. What great reflexes from the man from Texas. Tyler Hamilton coming along there, touching him on the shoulder. This is unbelievable.
Joshiba Bolocki's hopes of winning the 2003 Tour de France would end here on the roads of the 9th stage on the road into Gap. He would be taken to hospital and x-rays would reveal a broken leg, elbow and finger. But nobody could take anything away from the victory of Alexander Vinokourov.
With serious challenges like Bolocki literally falling by the wayside, Jan Ullrich was the last man with a realistic chance of beating Armstrong.
Ullrich was looking superbly concentrated on the starting ramp, and as he rolled away, he was able to combine the incredible aerodynamics with the superb power that only he knows he's got. Coming out to the early time checks, Ullrich was setting the race on fire with the fastest time at 13 kilometres. But for Lance Armstrong, this was a very important moment in his career as he was about to ride down the ramp with a rendezvous with destiny. For the Texan, this was probably the most important time trial of his whole career to date.
This is the big finish now of Jan Ullrich, and now have we got a man who can take on Lance Armstrong in the Pyrenees? He's certainly done it in the time trial. This is an absolutely incredible ride. We have ridden 47 kilometres, almost 30 miles, and over terrain that you really wouldn't ride without getting out of the saddle, and this man is going to break the hour. Jan Ullrich comes to the line inside 1 hour for 47 kilometres. Look at his face. This has been a special day out for Jan Ullrich. He's won 4 time trial stages of the Tour de France in his career. This could be his 5th. Ullrich drives up the straight here now. He's going to beat the hour, 58:32.92. Now, Lance, it's all up to you.
But right here's Armstrong right now. He was on the tailcoats of Iban Mayo. He's accelerated towards the finishing line. He's not going to beat Jan Ullrich. Look at the time, 58:32. Armstrong is well outside of that. But you know what, Phil? This is not a man who is weak. This is not a man who is giving up, but he's actually fighting to keep himself in the yellow jersey. He will do that without too much of a problem. But Jan Ullrich is going to be within 1 minute of Lance Armstrong in the overall classification tonight.
But nobody has broken the hour except Jan Ullrich for the ride today. Armstrong has made a race of this. It's been a huge struggle for him. 1 hour and 8 seconds as Lance Armstrong crosses the line. He will keep his leader's yellow jersey, but he is yet again reminded he is in the toughest scrap of any Tour de France he has ever won.
Ein Sieg ist immer gut, und ich bin hergekommen, um eine gute Tour zu fahren, und jetzt habe ich meinen Etappensieg, und ich habe im Zeitfahren noch nie Lance Armstrong geschlagen bei der Tour, und jetzt in meinem Comeback-Jahr, wo ich eigentlich als Vorbereitung machen wollte für nächstes Jahr, gelingt es mir, und das war einfach, also ich bin sprachlos. Morgen fangen die Pyrenäen an. Ich denke mal, Pyrenäen ist das Highlight der Tour, weil es einfach so schwer ist. 4 Tage, ganz schwer. Und jetzt genieße ich erstmal heute. Denke noch gar nicht an morgen, weil ja, es ist alles möglich. Dieses Jahr ist alles möglich.
Anything is possible, said Jan Ullrich. He wasn't wrong about that. The Pyrenees would see some of the most dramatic bike racing in the whole 100-year history of this great event. The peloton still had their suspicions about Armstrong's core fitness, and a confident Ullrich was ready to strike.
But look at the power of Jan Ullrich. Armstrong in second position. Ivan Basso just hanging on to fourth place in the line, and the gap is opening. Armstrong is being put into difficulty there. He's lost the wheel of Ullrich. Ullrich has closed the gap to Vinokurov. Armstrong is having a terrible day.
Well, you say it is a terrible day, but it is a great day because he is holding on. Now Ullrich has taken over. And there's a huge cheer gone up here when they've seen Jan Ullrich attack in the finishing zone. And Lance Armstrong is in trouble. He wants that wheel of Ivan Basso. He needs that wheel of Basso. Armstrong, in the last kilometres of the climb, is now very much on the defensive. The yellow jersey is up for grabs. There is a vacancy for the leader of the Tour de France. Armstrong is on the defensive. Jan Ullrich needs 34 seconds. Vinokurov needs 51. Less if they get in the first three because of the bonuses. This is unbelievable. Here comes, he digs deep now. Ullrich kicks again. The big man from Germany is looking for a bonus now of 12 seconds. Then we wait to see if 22 more tick by. If they do, we have a sixth leader of this year's Tour de France, and the record, by the way, stands at 8. Here comes Jan Ullrich to the line now. A final kick of determination has destroyed Belzebeldia, don't we? The camera makes him look closer than he really is. As now Jan Ullrich comes to the line, and then the clock will start. Ullrich is second, Zubeldia gets a third, and now Lance Armstrong, you are brilliant. That is a recovery for you. He saves the day.
A recovery as brilliant as that by Stephen Roche against Pedro Delgado in 1987, and maybe as influential on the final destination of the yellow jersey. So the race entered its final week with the top three men, Armstrong, Ullrich and Vinokurov, separated by only 18 seconds, and in front of them the small matter of the Col de Tourmalet and Luzardi-Den.
As he makes his move, and look who goes, Armstrong, and look who follows, Jan Ullrich, but not as sprightly.
Not as sprightly. The big thing about Armstrong, he has the acceleration. When he wants to go on the climb, he can do it. He has now decided, I want to go. You can see the yellow jersey is opening up a slight advantage. Mayo now has to dig deep. Ullrich has got the big gear going. He's coming up to the wheel of the Basque rider, but Armstrong wants to go right now.
Armstrong was waiting for somebody to pull in the flag, and now it was even... what's happened here? What has happened there? It seemed quite a normal corner. He must have hit somebody in the audience. Mayo has gone. Now the situation. Remember the pair of sword when Ullrich crashed? Armstrong waited, but let's have a look at this now. It still is unclear here exactly what happened.
Can he recover? He's on his same bicycle. His teammate is there right now. He's changed up onto the gear to try and get himself. He's got a teammate there. There is Chechu Ribiera. Calm down. Don't panic, Lance. He's saying he's putting his hand down. To this, he's looking over his shoulders. He knows there's a possibility of winning the Tour de France right now, but he's not sure what's happening. There is Vinokurov in front. There is Iban Mayo. He's the man who went down with Armstrong as well.
What is going on?
There's a problem with his pedals. He has a problem with his pedals.
This is what happened. I think his pedal may have broken. This happened. He didn't hit anybody. Well, it was the problem with his pedals.
It was very strange to see that. He's looking down. He now knows he's got a serious problem. Watch this now.
Well, this is awful.
Digging deep, and his foot has just come out, and I don't believe how he's managed to keep it upright there. This man has been on the ground. He almost lost his manhood on the crossbars a few moments ago, and he's decided he wants to go.
But this is the man trying to write his name as equal only to Miguel Indurain with 5 straight wins in the Tour de France. He has gone a long way to doing that today, and he's done it in the most bizarre of circumstance, falling off when he was hooked up his bike by a spectator, and now he's gone away, and Ullrich slowed the group down to let him back in, so they started the climb again together, and then Armstrong went. The American flags are flying now, though. This is a matter of pride again for Armstrong. A massive round of applause. No victory salute from Lance Armstrong. It's who's going to get hold of me, because the clock has started. And 4th place for Jan Ullrich, and I make it about 42 seconds. 40-42, it's not official. But that means Lance were 40-55, 1 minute 15 approximately. Lance now leads the Tour de France. Surely that's enough.
Fahrer selbst ein bisschen schuld. Und denke ich, hat sich nichts getan, so wer danach gefahren ist. Und ich habe dann auch nicht weiter attackiert. Und Fairness ist, denke ich, alles auch im Radsport. Und gut, Lenz war heute der Stärkste. Aber ich habe gekämpft und alle Register gezogen, die ich hatte heute. Habe auch am Tourmalet probiert wegzukommen, aber Ja gut, also die Tour ist noch nicht vorbei.
It's the way that it should be. You know, it's when somebody, and in my opinion, when somebody crashes, whether they're in the yellow jersey or whether they're one of the favorites, you don't attack. And then, you know, if we remember, 2 years ago, Jan Ullrich had a big crash on the descent of the Pierre Sword and went off the road, looked awful. And I told everybody at the time, you know, only 3 or 4 guys left. I said, look, we have to wait for him because we don't know if he's okay. We don't know if he's coming back. So the race is neutralized until he gets back. And so, you know, Jan was perhaps had that in mind today, and that was my payback, and I appreciate it.
Technically, the race wasn't over, but it was in all but name. So long, of course, as there weren't any problems on the final time trial.
Riders fell off today, including Jan Ullrich, but Armstrong comes home. It looks like a third-place finish, and he knows it's nothing. He's won the Tour de France with 54:19.66.
And the moment that he comes up to the line, rarely do you see him just show this kind of emotion. That's for him, and that's for the team.
As the peloton rolled into Paris, Lance Armstrong was now officially a legend, the newest member of the famous 5-time Winners' Club, joining Jacques Anquetil, Eddy Merckx, Bernard Hinault and Miguel Indurain. The 3 men on the 2003 podium had pushed the race to a new record average speed of 40.94 kilometres an hour, and goodness, it had been close. Cracks had appeared in the previously impervious armour of Armstrong, giving hope to his pursuers for next year. A 6th title, something never before achieved by any cyclist, was maybe too steep a climb even for him.
It was tough, and when it's close and tough, it feels better in the end.
If the 2004 Tour was marked by anything, it was by an epidemic of crashes. The weather meant that the team time trial became a lottery. US Postal, though, were once more in awesome form. The blue train was well and truly rolling.
He's back where he's been for 5 years, the leader of the Tour de France.
In the yellow jersey, Hincapie enjoying the victory. Look at his face now, Lance coming to the front. Look at that smile. It's incredible. As wide as the Pacific Ocean as he crosses the line.
Armstrong was back in yellow, but he and the rest of the riders were feeling far from secure, as danger, it seemed, lurked around every corner.
One name was crackling over the race radio at this point. The winner of number 1, Lance Armstrong, somewhere in the middle there, had gone down quite hard. That's his teammate Chechu Ribiera, but just there in front you can actually see Armstrong getting up and back into the race. Not much to worry about, but these crashes can happen at almost any moment out on the roads. It's something you really have to be aware of.
This is Tyler Hamilton here now, and he is in big trouble.
As soon as the race reached the mountains, there was an immediate shakeout among the contenders for Armstrong's yellow jersey. Several of the old guard were dropped unceremoniously.
The riders are being spread eagle, dropped from the group. We have seen Tyler Hamilton in trouble, Levi Leipheimer.
Look at this, Ullrich too. The Kaiser is starting to crack. He doesn't have the acceleration, Phil. He's a huge man on a bike. He uses a massive gear. He cannot respond to the accelerations of men like Armstrong's leaders.
Watch it, wait for it, because Armstrong's building here. Armstrong's realised that Ullrich is in trouble. He's getting round to grab onto the wheel of Acevedo, and once he's got him, we are being treated to the situation of 2 years ago when it was Roberto Heras that looked after Lance Armstrong to the line. He's checking over his shoulder to see...
Armstrong, however, had acquired himself a new shadow, one by the name of Ivan Basso.
Here he goes, he's building up for a move. As he's not seen Ullrich, he's not seen any of them. He thinks, well, I may as well go and try what happens.
Ivan Basso has responded immediately to get onto the wheel of Armstrong. Armstrong now has to assume complete control. He has no teammates left. He used them all over the flat part of this course before we got to the mountains. Ivan Basso, let's not forget this man has finished 5th overall in the Tour de France and been the best young rider as well. He leapt across to the wheel of Armstrong. Armstrong has not got the big gap that we've seen him get in recent years, but certainly that was a serious acceleration.
He would be looking for stage win number 17 if he gets it. Basso is giving him a long lead out. Armstrong hasn't done a thing about it. Basso gets the stage win. Armstrong gets the same time, a small second place bonus. And look at this, as we hit the line, it's going to be 2:26 for Jan Ullrich. And now it's mano a mano, Armstrong and Basso, as it was yesterday. And I don't think today Armstrong will allow Basso to win, which he never did yesterday. It just didn't matter so much. And this is it. Armstrong is waiting to the last moment. He's taken no chances here. He's driving to the line now. Armstrong with a Plateau de Bay like it was 2 years ago. And there could be a yellow jersey waiting. Armstrong wins. The crowd are cheering all of the way. Basso crosses the line in second place. They could now be first and second in the Tour de France.
Armstrong is prepared. Look at that. He's on the large chain ring and he's got right across to the left-hand side. He's actually thinking about getting himself the win here. The other riders in the group are on the small chain ring. If this comes down to the acceleration, Armstrong is in the correct gear as we look at him.
Look at him pushing and blowing there. He wants to stay in his slipstream as long as he can, but he's got to watch Basso doesn't block him in, because now I think Jan Ullrich must go on the inside. He's having to follow Basso's wheel, and Armstrong's got to go. Armstrong has got to take on Ivan Basso. Ullrich is trying to break him as they go round the final bend, taking it wide. That will throw Ullrich off his pace. Lance Armstrong is going to take the stage. He had to do it. He holds on as we get the 1-2 in the Alps we had in the Pyrenees. Armstrong, yes. And in second place it was Ivan Basso. Third was Jan Ullrich.
Look at the counter-attack from Kloden now. They've got to respond.
No reaction. No reaction. The race just got won here by Andreas Kloden. It's all over as Kloden goes up to the line now. It's not going to be far to the finish. There is a time gap, but the man in yellow is running at him with that usual determination. Ullrich is in the slipstream. Armstrong is coming with an incredible rush, and Kloden has realised it too late. Is there any stopping Lance Armstrong in this Tour de France? And the answer is no, there is not.
So 2004, far from being a continuation of his uncertain form from 2003, was in fact Lance Armstrong's most brilliant demonstration yet of the art of bike racing.
Lance is going to leave this Tour de France into retirement, having led his team to the fastest ever time trial in the history of the event. Here they come now.
Posties no more, but brilliant they certainly still were.
57.31 kilometres an hour.
Week 2 and into the mountains. Would the challenge collapse on the early slopes as it had done a year before? Would Basso be left to take the battle to Armstrong by himself? Vinokourov, a serious contender for Armstrong's crown, was one rider who found himself having to mount a challenge all alone.
This now, he sees the climb and he breaks away again. Can you believe that, with Alexander Vinokourov launching an attack just like that as he goes through Axleter? He's been on the back of that group for less than a kilometre and he's at it again.
It's Team Mobile who are on the front there chasing him down. Andreas Kloden is setting the tempo behind Alexander Vinokourov. Phil, that is pathetic teamwork. They are looking at a man who I'm convinced now is going to change teams in the winter transfer season.
I wouldn't disagree, and in fact the rumour is he's going to ride for Lance Armstrong's team next year. Ullrich has cracked, he's gone, Ullrich has done it all, and he's just fallen back. This was his big effort and it hasn't worked, he has dropped off.
But this is the big battle now for second and third place. Wearing number 1, Armstrong is putting time between himself and everybody else in the field here this afternoon, except Ivan Basso, the man who accompanied him last year.
Armstrong leading up. Is he going to unleash one of his fearsome finishes? Showing a banner, he goes for it. Basso's not going to take him. Lance Armstrong sprints away, and just look, he's going to get a time gap here. He'll be measured with a time gap as he drives to the line. Yellow is second. Lance Armstrong stays leader of the Tour de France, and tonight increases his advantage over everyone.
Armstrong was unassailable in yellow. The final individual time trial was once again an opportunity to bang the final nails into the coffins of his challengers' ambitions and to leave the Tour on the victorious high.
It is the picture we will never see again. All of the following cars behind the rider in yellow we've come to know since 1999, the master of the race of truth. He brings it to an end as a winner. The first ever stage he has won this year, the first bike race he has won this year. Armstrong wins the time trial and wins the Tour de France.
And finally, the last thing I'll say for the people that don't believe in cycling, the cynics and the skeptics, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry you can't dream big, and I'm sorry you don't believe in miracles. But this is one hell of a race. This is a great sporting event, and you should stand around and believe. You should believe in these athletes, and you should believe in these people. And I'm a fan of the Tour de France for as long as I live, and there are no secrets. This is a hard sporting event, and hard work wins it. So, vive le Tour. Forever. Thank you.
There's a temptation when a great sportsman retires to say that you'll never see his like again. But in the case of Lance Armstrong, that may very well be true. For my money, Eddie Merckx is still the greatest bike rider I've ever seen. No one before or since has had such an appetite for winning. And the thing was, he wasn't that picky about his victories. It could